Nobody wants to end up spending their last precious days sat in an unfamiliar chair. Meet 97-year-old Violet Barnes. After going blind, Violet was forced to sell her home of 50 years in order to fund her permanent stay in a local care home. Violet had always planned on spending her whole life in her family home. Buzz News spoke to Violet's daughter.
Because Mum's self-funding, we started looking at the best first of all. It was very expensive, the first one we saw, and we knew that would eat into her money.
So, how will you fund your care? There is essentially a 3-tier breakdown that determines if you get support from the state. Buzz News spoke to Janet Freeman, who has experience of working in a care home to running one herself.
The thing is now there are going to, because people tend to be living longer, then there are going to be a greater need for care homes. When anybody came here to look at my care home for a place for their relative, I always advised them to look elsewhere as well, because we were all very different. What you see in one home, you don't necessarily see in another home.
If you lived in a care home for 4 years, sold your house and split the money with your partner, you'd have £408 a week to spend on a care home, which is significantly less than what's required.
Well, I mean, it is like a 2-tier system. If you've got the money in the bank, you've got to be self-funding, whereas if you've got nothing, the state funds it for you. So it's most unfair, really. I think there ought to be a fairer system. Yes, Mum's an avid well, she was an avid reader. She's well read and well travelled, really. She's travelled quite a bit as well. It's so frustrating that you lost your sight, wasn't it, Mum?
Yes, that's right.
Yes. But never mind.
A lot of people have worked very hard all their lives to pass their inheritance onto their family, and it's something that causes a lot of distress to a lot of elderly, those that are able to comprehend that their savings, their house has been sold and their money is just being spent on their care, and that's very upsetting for elderly people.
Retired Bournemouth residents share their opinions.
I've heard reports from £500 to £1,000 a week. I think my sister, who lives in Buckinghamshire in a care home, she pays about £700 or £800 a week.
Well, having worked for 32 years in the local authority, I've paid quite a bit of tax, and I think that the government should supply you with some sort of care, and rather than have to sell your own home if anything happens to you, because it's astronomical now, isn't it, the cost of care homes?
You can hardly expect the government just can't keep on filling this big black hole, can they? It can't go on like this.